Hey everybody, good afternoon. It is 12:45 on a Tuesday, which means we are going live on Facebook to answer your questions. This is our Ask Me Anything hour, or the end of it. So if you have questions, you can email them to us at info@strongandhealth.com. And in this time, we'll be answering your questions. We have a few questions that we're going to get through today. The Thursday Ask Me Anything hour is all things keto. I have a lot of keto questions coming in. So some of them I'm going to reserve for the Thursday because it'll be all about that. I'm going to answer a couple of them today though, just to kind of help people going. We started a 28-day keto challenge yesterday to see if people can get close to eating in a ketogenic way, but in the healthy way. This is a really important distinction. I'm having a lot of people being concerned about this, saying that they have tried a keto diet or they're worried about doing a keto diet because they're not sure it's healthy because they hear about all of these bad things happening. And that is really important to pay attention to because it can be not good for you if you're not doing it right. And that's usually, what does that mean, doing it right? It means that people are missing out on a lot of the nutrients to allow their body to be able to do what you're trying to do. One of the most important things I tell people when they think about doing this is you're going to be eating a lot more fat if you're doing a ketogenic diet. Are you digesting the fat? That is really, really important. So many times people don't realize that they're having a hard time digesting fats. Bloating a lot of times can be because you're not digesting fats. The evidence of the fact that so many Americans are getting their gallbladders removed every week in this country, over 12,000, the diet that we're on is not supporting our liver gallbladder function. So really be mindful of that being the most important thing. And then other things that are going to be missing are going to be nutrients like selenium and magnesium and fiber and potassium. So when you're getting all of those in there, it's a totally different experience. And so my point is to always people is you need to be eating these nutrients anyway. So whether you're going to do keto or not, make sure that you're incorporating the foods that we discuss on a ketogenic diet because they're going to be important for function regardless. So for those of you who are on the fence, you're not sure about it, this is a great opportunity to ask all kinds of questions. I want to make sure that you know that we're doing everything we can to give you the opportunity to try it, but try it in a way that you're supporting your body and you're not just going off the rails and creating a bad situation. And one of the main things that you want to be focusing on is making sure you're eating plenty of vegetables while you're on it. Low glycemic index vegetables, because of course we're trying to keep the carb count low. And for those of you who are thinking about it, you're not sure, you want to maybe try some things out to see if it is something that you can do, we actually created a keto starter kit here. It's just a tiny little kit that gives you some sample recipes, a meal plan, and a bunch of little things to sample that I actually incorporate into my life while I'm doing my keto challenge, trying to give myself the benefit of the break from all of these sugar burning byproducts and making sure that I'm doing it in a healthy way. And I'm actually going to go through a couple of things that I've been eating the last couple of days to make sure that I'm getting a good round about that. And I'll go over those at the very end of this. But first of all, let me answer just a quick question about it. We have questions about sweeteners. And of course, I get it. People want to have some type of sweetener in their life, and it's totally understandable. And so there are definitely a couple of sweeteners that are going to be better than others. The question is about xylitol. Xylitol can be a really good one. It's actually probably the best tasting one there is out there. And it has a very low glycemic index. So it is something in small amounts that isn't going to be a problem when you're doing that. Erythritol, stevia, and monk fruit are also on the list. Those last three actually have almost a zero impact on blood sugar, so they're a little bit better. I just don't really care for the taste of them personally. So if you're going to go for something that's sweetener, xylitol is probably the best option, but I would keep it in appropriate amounts. Don't go crazy. I had a question earlier about, hey, so on this keto thing, can I just do copious amounts of sour cream and cheese? Copious amounts, probably not. Appropriate amounts, always. But always go for quality. Quality is going to be really important when we're thinking about that. Okay, we had another question about cramping in the legs. We have somebody who was wanting to know what could be causing cramping and tingling in their feet. Now, there's a lot of things, obviously, and they mentioned sleeping with a pillow between their legs because of the Charlie horses. And there can be a neurological component, there could be a structural component. Always want to make sure that when you're looking at anything in your health, that you are being mindful and respectful that there could be 1/3 of it could be due to structure. And this is why I'm really a big fan of chiropractic care and doctors of osteopathy and people who are looking at form and structure of the body, because that's really important. But from a nutritional approach, the things that of course lead to mind are potassium. And why potassium? Because most people aren't eating enough potassium. This is why we want those dark leafy greens during keto and all the time because you need them for your body to function. And most people aren't getting enough of them. But also a good form of bioavailable calcium and the essential fatty acids to get the calcium into the tissue. Typically, that seems to be the thing that I'm finding is most associated with these types of cramps, is people aren't getting a good enough essential fats. They're not digesting the fats because their liver's not being supported very well, and they're not getting a good form of calcium to be able to get that in there. We need calcium for all kinds of things. It's the most abundant mineral in the body, but we also want to make sure that we're getting it in a form that our body can be utilizing it. Chia seeds are actually a really good go-to for me to make sure I'm doing that, and that is a keto-friendly food. So that is one of the things I do, and actually I just go to the bulk section and I just get a little shot cup, and I just do a shot of chia seeds. It does take a while to kind of get them out of your teeth because they're very small and they kind of gel up. But this is going to give you fiber, which most people are missing out during their keto. It is going to give you a good source of omega-3 fatty acids, a great source of that. Also going to give you some good calcium. So those two things we just discussed for that, this could be something that you might want to incorporate into your life a little bit more to help you with that. The other question was, actually there was a question about chia seeds, if it's a good substitute for people with allergies to eggs. Now, it's a great amino acid profile in here, but it is missing lysine. Actually, it's one of the lower ones. So it's not going to be the same as eggs when it comes to a protein source, but it is pretty good for a lot of the other reasons. It is going to be superior to an egg in the fiber category because eggs don't have any fiber, so definitely think about that. And so I'm going to transition into that concern about allergies to eggs, and I want to caution people to think about two things: quality of the egg and having a food sensitivity versus an allergy. Quality of the egg makes a huge difference. Commercially raised eggs are going to be much more pro-inflammatory. You're going to be higher in the omega-6s, low in the omega-3s. Good organic eggs are actually going to be higher in the omega-3 and lower in the inflammatory omega-6s. So always look at good quality eggs. Now, beyond that, if you are having a sensitivity to this, and we've got a lot of history of people having that, you really want to look at your digestion. It's always going back to starting with digestion. You could be taking all of these nutrients, and if you're not digesting them, you're not getting any value added at all. And a lot of times when people have sensitivities to foods, the first thing you want to rule out is whether or not you're fully digesting it. You hear people talk about having a sensitivity to, as Dr. Gundry, with the lectins or gluten. Now these are proteins, and proteins should get fully digested in the stomach. That's where protein digestion takes place. And we talk about people getting leaky gut and problems because proteins are getting past that point and they're going to places where they're not supposed to be. And so a lot of times, a lot of food sensitivities can be triggered by that. And so we got a lot of miscommunication and confusion about what's a sensitivity, what's an allergy. And I really think that if we really put a keen eye on making sure your digestion was 100%, we would get a much clearer picture as to whether or not that's a true allergy or a sensitivity. Do we have some questions coming in? Okay, you can bring in questions live while we're talking about this, just so you know. So keep that in mind. And if you are having sensitivities to food, that is a sign that maybe you need to focus on your digestion a little bit more. We're talking a lot about digestion here. In fact, next month's Strong and Health box is focused on digestion to help people understand how to support their digestion even more. And we're always happy to help and talk more about that. Which leads me to the cluster headaches. Now, cluster headaches, of course, are different from migraines. Now, there is a lot of course, crossover in understanding the diagnoses of those. And for me, I'm not really concerned about specifying the diagnosis of these because I'm looking at what are the things that could be ruled out that could help alleviate some of this pain. That could just be a natural thing that they're missing out on. And digestion of foods so often is related to headaches in so many ways, migraines and cluster headaches. And so that's just why we're always talking about making sure you have a good amount of stomach acid to make sure you're digesting protein, and a good, healthy, functioning liver gallbladder for the digestion of the fats. Those two things alone, when you get those functioning, it can make a massive difference in any type of headache. Now, cluster headaches, we can be looking at looking at other things. Now, when you're looking at all of these types of conditions, there's always a question of we don't know what's causing it. We don't know what's causing it. And this is why a holistic approach is so important, because typically the dead end comes when people are looking for a singular cause of any one of these things. And they say, well, I tried that and it didn't work, or I tried that and it didn't work. And the problem is it's not just one or the other, but it's a huge combination of all of these. So when you want to approach finding what that is, you have to get the whole body healthy in order to help that out. There's an endocrine component to it. There's a lot of research showing that the hypothalamus being dysregulated could be affecting these cluster headaches because it's on that biological clock rhythm. So of course, this is going to be a holistic thing. You have to look at supporting the whole body. And in order to do that, we have to support the digestion and give it all the nutrients it needs, and then we can start looking at what else is missing from this picture. Now that we have a little bit of everything that we need all the time, where's the weakness and how can we strengthen that weakness? And that's what we're going to be looking at doing when it comes to those types. But we definitely want to reduce and eliminate anything that could be contributing to your stress. That's just going to clarify the picture for you so much more. If you've got 10 different things that are in this equation that you know are not helping your health, you have to remove those as best as you can if possible before you can identify what could be missing that your body needs to correct that situation. So elimination diets are very helpful, but also there are so many other chemicals we're being exposed to that we have to be mindful of. Hormones, not to be left out of that when you're looking at what could be it. All the things in excess are the things that you're going to be looking at first. Excessive exposure to anything could be what your body's trying to respond to and be able to correct. Okay, so we did the cluster headaches, we did the Charlie horses. Okay, that's not a question, that's just a note from my mom saying that she's going to come in later. And okay, so let me talk about some foods that I have been incorporating the last couple of days to make it easier. I talked about the chia seeds. In the morning, I do mix just a little bit of apple cider vinegar with a splash of lemon juice and a little bit of sea salt just to get things started in the morning with a little bit of water. It really helps with digestion overall. It helps with not only the liver function, but also pancreatic function. You want all of that digestion working really well, and it's just a great way to get things started. And there are some easier ways to do it. Of course, fresh lemons are best, but there are sometimes you can find organic lemon juice. Makes it quicker and easier to just splash that in there with a little splash of that and a little bit of salt in there. Also, I do then start usually with a little bit of fat after that. And I don't wait too long after that to start eating. I just give myself 5 to 10 minutes and then I do get started. And I'm a big fan of these at Bumps because it is a macadamia nut. So on Monday, which was yesterday, I did my macadamia nut Monday, and so I did my macadamia nut butter with a little bit of sea salt. Really easy, and it gives you that that inflammatory resolution omega-7 in there. There's a lot of good benefits to getting your macadamia nuts in there. I also, since it's Monday, I do typically do my Brazil nuts on Monday, and this is that selenium component we talked about earlier that's really important, regardless of whether you're doing keto or not, but especially if you are doing keto, you have to get some selenium in there. You always have to get selenium in there, but it's really important when you're doing keto. So I did that on Monday, and then another very simple thing that I did, and this is really not, it's not like the highest shelf perfect way of eating, but I find it to be something that is useful and helpful for me when I'm working a lot and I need something quick, is I do get the wild-caught Alaskan salmon in this kind of pack, open it up and just soak it in a little bit of that lemon juice, and that is one of the most delicious snacks that I can get. And then I'm getting my potassium, my omega-3s, and all kinds of nutrients in that salmon as well. I did have a couple of eggs yesterday as well. And, and of course, my spinach, a big bowl of spinach that you want to be able to get in there to get those other nutrients. So, again, back to when we're talking about keto, we want to be mindful of the fiber, the magnesium, the potassium, the selenium. These are the micronutrients that are really important that a lot of times people are developing or having difficulty because they're completely ignoring those and they're creating these deficits which create all kinds of problems. Okay. I also have one question for all of you who are watching, and if you do want to type it in the notes for me, I'd really appreciate a response. We are doing some live talks quite a bit in the area, and we want to know when the best time to do that is for you so that we know that we're available for you. We're looking at Wednesday nights, Wednesday afternoons, Thursday nights, Saturday afternoons, Saturday night. Dr. Chi is coming back to town, and we're trying to figure out whether or not it's better for us to do something in a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday evening. Let us know what you would prefer, what's best and most convenient for you. It would be very helpful for us to schedule that for you. Next Thursday night, Dr. Schippel's back in town, so that's going to be 7:30 at the 4-Day Weekend Theater in Fort Worth. And no, that doesn't mean it's a 4-day event, and there's a lot of confusion on that, which I think is actually kind of funny. I'd love it to be a 4-day event, but no, it's just going to be an evening event. It's going to be about an hour with some Q&A and teach back. And so that'll be at the 4-Day Weekend Theater next Thursday. Dr. Schippel and I will be co-teaching that one. So if these dates are convenient and helpful, I want to know that. But if they're not, I also want to know that, because when we're making these efforts to put out this public education, we want to make sure that it's accessible to you and it's in a way that's going to actually be able to impact your life and give you something that you can take away from it. Okay, I believe that's all the things we want to talk about today, so please give us some feedback. Let us know if this information is helpful, if there are other questions that we're not answering, or if I'm not giving clear enough answers, and when the best time, if you're local, that you'd like to be able to see us live so we can answer your questions one-on-one. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Please do share this video if you do find this information helpful, and keep watching. We'll have Thursday keto questions answered.